Good morning and welcome to the Small Business Cheerleader podcast. I'm Nicola from NW Marketing, and this morning I'm joined by the lovely Kirsty Peebles. She's a Perth gal who's been in the fitness industry for 7 years, and I'm going to let her introduce herself because I want you to hear exactly what it is she has to offer and what we're going to talk about today. How are you, Kirsty?
I am so well. Thank you so much for having me on here, Nicola. I'm very excited to chat today.
Awesome.
Do you want me to get straight into what I do?
I want to hear all about it. So I want you to tell me, what is Kirsty about and what are we going to talk about today?
Absolutely. So as Nicola said, I'm Kirsty. I own I suppose a holistic, but some people get scared of the word, but a fitness and wellness studio in the Perth Hills. So my company is called Equilibrium HQ, and we're based in Kalamunda. And I opened that a year ago, the year of the pandemic. And it's just been honestly so amazing. And at EQ, we run group fitness classes, we have yoga once a week, we do boxing, and one of my biggest goals with the studio is to close the gap between mental and physical well-being. So I have been a personal trainer for over 7 years now, which is so crazy, but I really resonate with just being a coach and someone that helps people close that gap, make sure they're finding some kind of balance. And that's kind of why we're here today, to talk about the business owner side of that. And the elusive balance word.
Oh, look, I mean, that's what we all are striving for, this ultimate work-life, physical, mental balance. I mean, it's something we always need to strive for, though. I don't think it's something we ever get right all of the time. So it's about finding how you can get that balance, mind and body, as a business owner. And having your experience as a PT allows you to see how that works, and then working in the holistic part with the mindset, and being able to work that side into your fitness and working into you as a business owner. I just love exploring, which is why we're here today. We want to talk about how they can implement more balance into their life. So what do you talk about when you're saying sometimes you're not always going to be on top of it? So we're letting people have that permission.
We're not.
Yeah, we want to give people permission to not always be on top of it, but to know how they can find their version of balance. So hit me with it. What's the first thing people need to do when they're looking to find balance or implement more balance into their life and their businesses?
What a good question. I think one of the best places to start is to realize that it's never going to be equal. Like, you just have to accept that sometimes your business is going to need more attention. Sometimes your relationships are going to need more attention. Sometimes your friendships, your kids, your study, whatever you're doing, at some point, things are going to need more of your attention than others. And you have to be aware of that and almost pre-plan it. Not to the extent where you're controlling everything, because we need enough flow to let things happen. You know, how life gets in the way, but it is so important. I think, for example, and a really clear example is that recently EQ just launched their first 8-week challenge, and we sold out, which is amazing. But I knew that the whole maybe 6 weeks launch prior was going to be quite crazy and quite high demand. But I knew that the 2 weeks, especially prior to starting, was going to be so paramount to accept that I need to be in work mode right now. And it did mean that I didn't get to train as much as I would have liked to. And it did mean that I didn't get to go out on date nights and catch up with friends and, you know, really enjoy that flexibility of our schedules that some of us are blessed enough to have. But the receiving end is that there's going to be times where I don't get that at all, and I'm working a lot. So yeah, that's probably one of the first things, is just accepting that we're just not always going to be equal with our balance, and it does change.
Yeah. And that's what I find with business owners. We have this pressure on ourselves, don't we, that we need to be perfect partners and perfect business owners. And we should be doing yoga every morning, followed by meditation, followed by journaling, followed by launching new products, followed by picking kids up from school and making awesome dinners, and then spending wonderful time with our partners every night. That would be great. And sometimes, I must say, one day, maybe a year, I do that. I am on top of everything. And I think that I have this thing down pat. Then the next day I get a call from the school and one kid's done something, and then my husband's late and he's not home for dinner and I burnt it, and I haven't done my yoga and my journaling is not done, and I feel like I've ruined my whole life. So
agree, and I've been there. Like I went through a really bad mental month or two with my own mental health, which I think was the perfect reminder for me. Although we should never get to a point of burnout, I just allowed myself permission to just feel a bit shit and just write it out and go, you know what doesn't need my attention as much right now? Work. It does mean that things are going to be slower. It does mean that things, you know, we're not going to have 50 new leads coming in. But I tell you what, Nicola, me giving myself that permission to slow down for a few weeks a couple months ago has led to that over 25 new people in my space in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. I agree 100%, because I just did a launch of an online mini course and it was a huge lead up, and you know, the big launch, you just had it yourself, and then you end up, I had to do the same thing. Once it launched, I just gave myself permission to just not be around as much, to not be on socials as much, to not put as much content out, because I had done so much of it that I just needed time for myself again, just to be me and stop being this face of a business, and just sit back and just enjoy something that's normal for a change. And I think personally, I agree with the whole listening to yourself and what you need at that exact time. And that is balance these days. Don't you agree that the understanding where you're sitting in how you're feeling and finding your way out of it in your own time is the way I find the only way I can get through it.
And business owning in itself is, I found myself saying this a lot lately, is it's like this, what's the word? It's like this intimidating, consistent, ever evolving, like you're just constantly changing. Consistently all the time, and it's like this constant mirror in front of you. It is this constant reassessment of your life. It is this constant force to look at certain things under a microscope, and if you're not aware of what's going on and you're not aware of yourself to start off with, things will start to feel very hard. And if you're working out of alignment with what feels good for you, you know so quickly.
Yeah, that's right. Because if you're not doing what lights you up ultimately, and you're not in a place where you feel like you're contributing something, it's just overwhelming, and you can feel like you're completely out of control. And that's where people burn out, and that's where things that shine bright can easily just diminish. And I think that it's the constant reevaluating, and that's where journaling can come in, or just having an accountability buddy, someone to just be there with you. I find masterminds work well for me with business owners in the same level of business where I'm at, and having those conversations of vulnerability enable me to be able to grow. And I think whether you find that in whatever it looks like for you, whether you say like in a challenge, an 8-week challenge, you've got people all working towards the same goal and you've got people who've got your back. If you're in business or you're launching a new product, it's about having people who've been there and done that before, that it can lift you up. And I think that finding those people are really important. And that's what you do at Equilibrium. You enable those spaces for people to come together, and you've done workshops in there, and you enable people to get together and know they're not alone. And I think that is so important, especially in COVID days, of being able to have a group that can lift you up.
Definitely. I think, you know what, that stems so nicely back to what else can bring us balance, and that is just community in general and having a support network. Two things that are so paramount to us succeeding is not just the individual as the business owner, but the team that's secretly behind them. You know, like one thing that I've really had to learn. So as Nicola said, I've been a personal trainer for 7 years. I had a business as a PT working from home and from other gyms for 6 years. And I started EQ as a company last year. And one of the things that I had to learn was, one, release control and accept that everything's not going to be done perfectly how you want it to be. And that's okay. And then the other thing as well is delegating. Like, it's the same thing, but delegating and understanding that you're better off just paying, you know, go on to Upwork or go and if you have staff members and you're blessed enough to have good staff members, ask them for help. Like, take that step back so that you have more time to do things that make you feel good. Because For example, I just started pottery a few months ago, and it's just something I've wanted to do for so long. And I think having something that is not just your business going on is another way to continuously fill yourself up and fill your own cup up and keep your own sense of identity.
Yeah, because you can, but your business can become all consuming. And remember, you know, if something does happen to your business that might be out of your control and your business is no longer allowed to continue on as it is, you need to remember who you are, because if that does happen and you are so entrenched within that business, you will find it hard to really identify with what it is that lights you up again. But that's why I usually say in the coaching that we do, when we try and find your vision, mission, and core values, they're very personal, because your vision is always bigger than you, and it's bigger than your business, and it's bigger than what it is that you are doing, because it needs to be something that lights you up continuously. And that's what I try and tell business owners. It's something bigger than you, and it's not about just what you do. And then should what you are doing at present time not work out, you are still on that journey to finding that vision, and whatever it is, you will find a way to make that work again. And that's why this work is so important, because once you've done it, it really gives you clarity on where you're going, not just in your business, but within your life, your core values, what you stand for, what lights you up in your world, and how you can bring that to other people. And you will find a way, whatever that is, if you know what your clarity is in that realm.
Like, sit down, write a list of all of the things that make you feel so freaking good, and start to do them, start to implement them. Like you said, otherwise, because your business becomes all consuming, it's like you're in a toxic relationship, but the relationship's good. You don't want to just have that one identity. I went through a lot of detachment work a couple months ago, and I had to step out of that. Like, a lot of people, and I take it as a compliment every time, but a lot of people describe me as a powerhouse. Like, I do just keep going and work hard and look like I have it all together. But I always like to be so transparent that, like, I have this weird saying at the moment where I'm like, if I die tomorrow, or if I am on holidays for a few weeks, I want to know that my business can run and I don't have to be there. Like, we should really be aiming to some kind of level of that, where you get to have a break when you need to have a break.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately what we forget, and I know I did for many years starting my business, you created your own business for that freedom and flexibility. That was the whole idea. You gave up the idea of working for someone else so that you had control of your time and your money. But in the end, we all know that we end up working 80 hours a week and don't pay ourselves, and then wonder why we burn out. And hang on, I'm pretty sure this isn't why I did it. I know I created my own business to spend more time with my family, etc. Then ended up working 80 hours a week, and the kids were like, where's mum gone? So, I had to bring that completely back around and realize that, yeah, I need to make sure that I'm doing stuff for me and making sure that my business still lights me up and I enjoy it, because you won't enjoy it, will you? If you're working 80 hours a week, that will be a chain around your neck. So it's about outsourcing. It's about making sure that balance is there, that you are the CEO of your business and treating it as such. You're paying yourself, you're making sure that everything is outsourced that can be.
Making sure that you feel amazing in the process, like that and I like to talk about this. I think self-care is a really big thing at the moment, and it is, and it's fantastic. But self-care isn't just a bubble bath. Self-care is, you need to take 2 days off of work to go and cry for 6 hours or something. I haven't done that. I probably should. to go and see a kinesiologist, to go and see a counselor, to go and see, speak to people in your community and talk to women that are in, things like fusion and things like, that's how we met anyway, I think, isn't it? Yeah. Like, so you need to have a network, and you need to have someone that you can go to, and you need to give yourself permission to have that self-care time and figure out what that looks like for you, and instill that. Don't just go, oh, everything's a fucking mess and I need to wait every 6 weeks and do this consistent 6-week cycle. Implement one of those 5 things every single week, and you won't feel that cycle as much anymore, because you're out of it.
That's exactly right. And I had to make that decision a few weeks ago, where I said from the 1st of August, I'm not going to work between 9 and 11. Between 9 and 11 every day is my time. and that's where I'm going to do what it is I need to do, whatever that is, you know, whether it's walk the dog for an hour, whether it's something, because otherwise I'm working all day, I'm then working all night because I'm engaging online on night, making sure the socials, all that stuff. I'm then uploading mini course things on the weekend. And if I don't do those 2 hours, and it's easiest to do it those 2 hours. So you know, you just got to work out what does, if it's night for you, if it's the weekend for you, you just work out that time, because I realized at this stage of my life, my business needs to give back to me. I need to be at a stage where I've worked hard enough for my business to give back to me, and that I can make sure that the rest of this is able to continue on without needing me all the time. And that's where you'll get to eventually, if you put the steps in place, if you find a network which lifts you up, and if you're able to take everything you can learn from little snippets from people, implement them into your business to make it work for you. And eventually you will get to that stage.
100%, and I completely agree with that. And I love how you said it's about taking little steps. It's not even about like waiting and working for a really long time to get there either. It's literally, like you said, it's take these steps, learn from people who are already doing it, find mentors, and you will definitely get there faster. But I think what you said as well, finding time for us and blocking out those times, leads us back to even just exercise in general. Like, you need to find something that keeps you physically on the ball so that you have the energy to keep going to do what you need to do. Because if we're looking after our physical selves and we're looking after our mental selves, the rest just falls into place.
Yeah, that is 100%, because if you're looking after that part of you, you will more or less manifest that sort of vibration, that energetics. And that's what I've been getting into the last year or so, not into woohoo, but into more into you. Out, I know I'm only new to woo and the who, but it's more or less putting it out there that you're important, that you are important enough to put that time into yourself, and that will resonate into your business. Because the whole, you know, it's the whole airplane thing, is that give yourself oxygen first so you can give it to your children. And it's the same in your business. If you look after yourself, your staff will get the best from you, and they will get the best journey, and they will put in that same. And if you look after your staff to make sure their self-love is there as well, it will perpetuate. So it's about creating. So that's what I decided, that's after, you know, months of trying to figure out what that looked like for me, that's what it's going to be from the 1st of August. And then I will be able to give the best back for everything else. So people will say, oh, I've got no time for all that, I'm too busy working. Well, you need to find what that looks like for you. It's not the same for everyone. Remember that.
And like I might need 2 to 3 days off a week versus someone who might work twice a week versus someone who might work 7 days a week. Like, everybody is different, and I would rather have a couple of hours in each day where I'm kind of flexible to do what I need to do. And what was I was just about to say, something that I wanted to mention as well is this busyness. I was notorious for the same thing, is I'm too busy. And you know, there's this saying in meditation, it's the person that's the busiest needs the most amount of meditation. And that is true. And that's, you know, but not everyone resonates with meditating, and that's okay too, except they should try it for 3 minutes and see how they feel after. But what I was going to say is that there's just this like negative but rewarded connotation towards busyness now. And a long time ago, I made the decision to not describe myself as busy, or at least try to avoid describing myself as busy, and look at it as like I am doing things that keep my time preoccupied that I either love or I don't love. And if I don't love it, something needs to change.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, there's a lot of things that people can do when you're trying to find out what's just hustle and what is actually productive work. And a lot of those are like task audits, things like that, where you just go through your day and find out, is this something I love? Is this something I can outsource? Is this something I can stop doing? And is this something I can delegate out? You need to find those. And I've always recommended to my clients, at least do that for 1 week and see where it is you sit and what parts of your life you can actually outsource. Like you said, upwork further. It doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to be something that you're not feeling called to doing everything in your business, because that's where you'll burn out. And like you said, and we were going to talk about boundaries in regards to your mindset and that busy hustle life, like, you know, how to call yourself out on it, and how to find a way to stop getting in that mindset of having to be busy and being more productive. It doesn't have to look like busy, does it? You can be productive without looking busy all the time.
100%. And I low-key love when on the side someone's like, Kirsty's got all of Thursday off. And Kirsty's like, yeah, Kirsty's all of Thursday off. But she's still done 2 to 3 hours of high quality productive work. And now I'm free to enjoy my day. And I definitely wanted to touch on boundaries and a few things that I've learned over the years that I now can't change, basically, because it is at the detriment of my own mental health if I do. So I call them, it's basically non-negotiables and also your baselines. So non-negotiables or baselines, whatever you want to call it, it's like the things that you you will not change and you will not give up. So for me personally, that is training, and my baseline is an absolute minimum of 3 times per week. And now I understand that that looks different for everyone. Some people might think that 3 times a week is a lot, and it is a good, sufficient amount of exercise. But for me, my baseline is 3 workouts a week. And if I get 5, I'm stoked. I feel fantastic. My energy is great. I feel strong, and I look, I feel like I look better and my confidence is better, So that all stems from like these baselines and having these boundaries. And so I put my workouts into my schedule every week as a non-negotiable. That also looks like, for me, a non-negotiable is meal prep. If you plan some of your meals on a Sunday or whatever day works best for you, maybe it's a Monday afternoon, if you at least plan just some of your meals for the week, that future you is thanking you, because you don't have to be freaking out about what you're going to be eating next, And this isn't just aesthetic based. This is purely my big ethos towards my business is nourishing yourself, nourishing your body to make sure that you can keep going, basically.
Oh, look, I'm 100% behind that. I find if I have myself sorted on a Sunday for the week, my week is kick-ass. If I'm dragging my heels on a Sunday, lethargic, my week is shit. So it's just a mindset thing. We get ourselves in funks. We get ourselves in things where we don't feel in control, but we are in control of it. We just don't do the things we need to do with the non-negotiables. And that will always bring us back around a non-negotiable. And that's why I'm putting them in from August, because I need those 2 hours to get my life together. I need to walk the dog. I need to go the shopping. I need to just have time for me that gets me in that best mindset. And then you know what happens? That afternoon, I kick it. That afternoon is the most productive I've been all week. And that's what it's mindset, isn't it? Because we know our life's in control.
Like what work can do versus a couple of hours of procrastinating.
Yep. And you're scrolling, or you're just looking at emails, you're not doing. Whereas if you've had 2 hours and you've done, like you said, you've worked out, or I've gone around for an hour and walked the dog and I've come back in and done 10 minutes of meditation, then I put the washing out, the rest of that afternoon, I'm like on it. It is just happening because I feel in control of my life. So whatever it looks like for you, explore it. And you can find people to help you do that. You know what I mean? It's like you guys do the challenges and you guys do workshops, and it's about trying to make sure that you find the right person for whatever stage you're at. If you need mindset help when it comes to, balancing your life and getting your physical aspect together, then, you guys have an awesome way for people to do that and be part of a community. And there's times where I was really struggling to try and find what it looked like creating online courses. So I found a mastermind for that. And now you have that backup, that support, that you feel like you're part of a group that's going to get you there. And that's exactly whatever it is. If you love plants, you join groups and you go and, you find whatever lights you up and you get people who are going to bring you even higher. And I think that is the best I can advise anyone to do. Wherever you are in your life, whatever you need that support with, go find it.
I love that. And it's so true. It is so true. And I'm always a little bit like what's the word, apprehensive towards certain coaches who don't have a coach. And I'm like, are you growing and learning and moving though? Like, because I myself, I actually didn't say this at the start. I also run, I call them life audit sessions, basically, where it's literally just an hour. And you know, most coaches is like ongoing support and stuff. I'm like, you can come in, sit down for an hour with me, and I will get you organized to sort your shit out. Like, let's go through your calendar. Because another thing I'm really big on is like time blocking and making sure that things fit where there's still empty gaps to do whatever life throws at you. And just having, like you said, on a Sunday, if you're organized, you're good. Like, I sit down, I write my list out on a Sunday, I check that everything's in my calendar, and if things are there, amazing. And if something can't fit in, something can't fit in. You don't have to say yes all the time either. It's just,
and stop doing back-to-backs. People need to stop back-to-backs because life happens. You need to put that space in there, and also work on your big rocks, which I call them. You know, there's a lot of mindset work around big rocks and small rocks, and making sure you're constantly still putting time in for your vision work, your bigger picture work, because that will keep you inspired. Stop just putting out fires. Make sure there's room for big work. You'll feel more like you're heading somewhere. You're not just constantly, you know, just going around in the hustle mode. So that's what we try and work on, whatever that looks like for you, whatever that big picture is.
Yeah, and putting that into your calendar, like for me, I try to do at least one of those tasks every day. However, every fortnight on a Wednesday for 2 to 4 hours, I'm sitting down with a girlfriend of mine who also owns a business, and we're like, we are not getting off this chair until we have done what we need to do, or until we've done at least 2 of these tasks that we're either procrastinating from or avoiding and haven't had time for, you know?
Yeah, and that's what it's just accountability. It's just whether it's a group, whether it's a girlfriend, whether it's, some people do co-working online days where you just sit over Zoom and someone's there, you're just working, but someone's there watching you. I've seen authors do that. They have writing groups where 10 of them sit there and they write their book for 2 hours, but you're accountable because people are watching you. And people will call you out. So how is that? It's like people just need to know somebody is making sure they're doing it, and you don't procrastinate.
You're paying that person to show up. You know you're showing up. We have a booking system for our classes. Yes, sure, it's so that we know who's in our classes, but it's also so that that person's committed to be there.
Oh, 100%. That works for me every time. If I'm booked into a class, that guilt will get me there. Whereas if it's just me showing up to an open gym, I'm like, yeah, I can do that next week or whatever. No, if I'm in a class, I feel so bad if that poor instructor is sitting there and I don't show up. So, you know, 100%. Oh my gosh, we could talk about this forever, because I think that we're both really passionate about making sure that people get the most out of their lives and their businesses. And some people just don't, they just have a different mindset. So I think it's about getting the balance between the hustle, setting boundaries, and making sure you're heading towards your ultimate vision. So I think if you've got all of that somewhere, and you've got someone, like you said, even if it's your 1 hour sessions, and there's someone to, you know, help them look at the bigger picture outside their business. How can you make a difference? It just changes your life. I know it has for me in business. And I think that that's why there's so much access now to gorgeous people who can help you in whatever realm it is. Now, I want you to tell everyone, how can people work with you, and how can they get involved in Equilibrium HQ, whether it's your workshops, your coaching, your fitness? You tell people what's the best way to get, because your energy is so out there in revolt. It gets people in and gets people motivated. So I want people to get involved in your energy. How can they do that?
Thank you so much. I definitely always like to emphasize as well, like we always need to just start a little bit before we're ready, right? That's what one of my coaches taught me. She was like, we just need to start a little bit before we're ready. Not 100% ready, just a little bit. And I think if anyone is called to, you know, work with EQ, I would absolutely love that. But how you can find us, so our Instagram for EQ is equilibrium_HQ, and we do personal training, we do small group fitness classes, which is like strength and conditioning based. There's a max of 10 to 12 people in a class, so it's very small and niche, and that's why everyone knows each other. And we also run a lot of workshops and seminars. We actually have a half-day retreat coming up in August. that I low-key haven't advertised for yet, but it's because we've already sold 30 spots. But if that does interest someone, that's a very soul-nourishing thing. So keep an eye out for that on our socials. It's very mindset and soul-focused. So that's coming up. But so that's Equilibrium HQ. Most of our stuff is posted on our Instagram. But if you're in the Perth Hills area, you want to come and train with us, please feel free to let me know. Just DM us on there. On my personal socials, I just need to check my Instagram handle, but I'm pretty confident that it's just Kirsty. Yeah, it's just Kirsty Peebles. So you can also book on there for one of my life audit sessions. So if you feel like you need someone to just come into your calendar and just
someone to kick your ass,
that is me.
Yeah.
So if that does interest anyone, you're more than welcome to just book in on that through the link on my personal profile as well. We share recipes.
Awesome. Well, it's been wonderful to have you on the Small Business Cheerleader, because I find these podcasts, I just love having business owners that have done mindset work themselves or just been living it, because you can learn so much from someone who's already been through the journey. So that's where mentoring and coaching and life audits, like you say, sometimes you just need someone to come and kick your ass. And I think that whether you can just do that by listening to podcasts, that's great, because sometimes it motivates you. You feel like, oh shit, I really need to do that. So I've loved the fact that you've come on and we've really talked about blocking out time for you, finding work in what lights you up, making sure you're putting time in your calendar for that, and whatever that looks like for you, but finding it, and then making sure that you're incorporating, making sure physicality is in there, you're moving your body, you're making sure that you're putting time in, because when you get to my age and you hit like 47, it starts to come all a bit tight and stiff. So the more you get out there, the more you do stuff, I think that that's so important. So it's been awesome to have you, and make sure you hit up well, basically Equilibrium HQ or Kirsty Peebles and get involved in the energy, because the more energy and light you can get into your life, the more your business will grow. So it's been awesome having you. And yeah, and we'll make sure we follow everything online.
Yes, thank you. I can't wait to hopefully meet some of your audience as well.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Bye.